Hello and welcome to What the F*** Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditis. Let's get to it. It's Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. Welcome to day 518. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen backed Joe Biden's position that a recession is not inevitable. Yellen acknowledged, however, that she expects some economic slowing as the Federal Reserve aggressively tries to curb inflation with increased interest rates. The year-over-year inflation rate is currently at about 9.6%, a 40-year high, and the major stock market indexes are all down more than 20% from their highs. Biden, meanwhile, suggested pausing the federal gas tax as a way to reduce prices for Americans. The gas tax adds 18.4 cents total per gallon of gasoline, which currently costs about $5 a gallon across the country on average. Biden's also considering lifting Trump-era tariffs to slow inflation. Moving on, the Supreme Court ruled that Maine cannot exclude religious schools from a state tuition program that lets parents use vouchers to send their children to public or private schools. The program does not allow public funding to go to schools that promote religious instruction. The court, however, ruled that if the state used taxpayer money to pay for students attending non-religious private schools, then it must also allow the use of taxpayer funds to pay for attendance at religious schools. The vote was 6-3, with the court's 3 liberal justices in dissent. Back in D.C., the January 6th committee revealed evidence that Donald Trump had a direct and personal role in pressuring state and local officials to overturn the 2020 election results, and that he was involved in a scheme to put forward slates of fake pro-Trump electors in states that were won by Biden. The panel's 4th hearing featured testimony from Republican officials on the receiving end of Trump's outreach after the election. The testimony showed that Trump knew that his claims of election fraud were unfounded and that they risked causing violence. Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, who Trump asked to find enough votes to flip the election in Georgia, testified that Trump received fewer votes than expected because roughly 28,000 Republicans who voted didn't choose a president that year. The numbers are the numbers, he said. The numbers don't lie. Arizona House of Representatives Speaker Rusty Bowers, meanwhile, testified that Rudy Giuliani, despite acknowledging that he didn't have any evidence, pressed him to allow a state committee to study evidence of voter fraud and to look into potentially removing Biden's electors in that state. Bowers also said that Trump lawyer John Eastman inquired about decertifying the electors. Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel, meanwhile, testified that during a conference call, Trump had Eastman talk about helping to assemble the fake electors as a contingency. The committee also presented a text exchange between an aide to Senator Ron Johnson and an aide to Mike Pence, attempting to arrange a handoff of fake electors minutes before Pence began to count the electoral votes. The aide, Sean Riley, told Pence's legislative director, Chris Hodgson, that Johnson wanted to hand-deliver Pence lists of the fake electors from Michigan and Wisconsin, which were to be introduced during the count. The January 6th committee also subpoenaed a documentary filmmaker for footage of Trump and his inner circle before and after the insurrection. The existence of this footage was previously unreported. Alex Holder, who was subpoenaed, confirmed that he had turned over the footage to the committee, which includes, quote, unparalleled access and exclusive interviews, end quote, with Trump, his children, as well as Jared Kushner and Mike Pence, both before and after the events of January 6th. It also includes never-before-seen footage of the Capitol riot. Holder's cooperation and the new footage came as a surprise to several former Trump officials on Trump's re-election campaign, who all claimed that they each had no idea that a documentary about Trump's re-election campaign was being filmed. What the fuck is this? A former senior official on Trump's re-election team said after seeing the news. And finally, both Homeland and national security officials say they're worried about Russia using Trump's election lies to exploit U.S. divisions in November's midterms. 5 current and former U.S. officials suggested that Russia could deliberately stage small hacks of local election authorities designed to be noticed in order to seed more conspiracies about the integrity of U.S. elections. And in the polls, ABC News says 58% of Americans think Trump should be charged with a crime for his role in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. That number is up from 52% in April. That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the Maine website. And as always, visit whatthefjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Amditis.